Good morning, folks. Today is June 27th. It's Monday, last Monday of the month of June. This is episode 140 of Simply Cyber's daily cyber threat briefing. I'm your host, Gerald Auger, Dr. Gerald Auger, and over the next 30 minutes, I'll be delivering the top cybersecurity news stories of the day and providing expert analysis on each of those stories on what it means to you as a practitioner and how you can operationalize it at work today. Or if you're looking to break in the industry, this will help you have context around what's going on and how the pieces fit together, and then ultimately just blow the socks off of whoever's interviewing you. Shout out and thanks to this stream sponsor, Barricade Cyber Solutions. Cyber criminals have stolen your company's data and derailed your business operations. Barricade Cyber Solutions will help you resolve this ransomware attack and get your business back on track. The key takeaway here is if you don't have like a plan, like if you don't have incident response capabilities at your business and your small to mid-size org, which is typically the orgs that would not have that capability, it's good to have somebody like Barricade Cyber Solutions at least on warm standby. Like you've had a conversation with them, maybe you've talked about retainer and stuff like that, just so when you do get punched in the mouth, you have a go-to essentially incident response plan, even if it's just picking up the phone and flipping out to Eric. So I want to remind you, if you hold a professional certification such as CISA, CISP, CISM, congratulations on getting it. Second of all, you have to do CPEs, which are continuing education credits. I want to remind everybody that daily cyber threat briefing is worth half a CPE per day. So this right here, half a CPE, that's 2.5 a week, 10 a month. So I would recommend that you document literally the easiest and most enjoyable and definitely value add way of getting CPEs. All you have to do is say what's up in chat. Kenneth Thomas, good morning on LinkedIn. Kenneth Thomas, if he needs to go back and point to it for an audit, he's got it right there. So just say what's up in chat and have it go. To my West Coast people, I see Poner Joe in there. West Coast getting up early. Glad to have you guys join us live on stream. If you're live like Poner Joe, I see 56 of you here. Good morning. Thank you for spending your morning or your evening, depending on where you are, with us getting the daily cyber threat briefing. If you're on replay, hashtag team replay in comments. I appreciate y'all catching it. Definitely appreciate both the live and the replay, folks. I will say two things about team replay. One, I'm out Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week. We have great hosts lined up for you guys, so don't worry about the show not going off without a hitch. But I will be team replay Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week. I actually got shirts made up. Some of you who were in the squad saw the shirts already. If you are in the squad and you're on Discord, you would have seen it, but I'll be revealing them whenever I get them. I think they're pretty cool, and they definitely rep Team Replay, since I am also hashtag Team Replay from time to time. Now, if you want to jump right to the news, if you're new here, when this screen turns into news, that means that we're off and running. But for the next minute or two, like I always do, I love to have a couple sips of the coffee and say good morning to the Simply Cyber community. So without further ado, let's do it. Good morning, Doug Castle. Hey, Carrie, good to see you. Cybersecurity Central. Every morning's a good morning. Monday, we get to attack the day. David Meese, congratulations on the new job, David. Super pumped for you. Kimberly, always nice in Miami to see you. Axiom Brevity, a regular in the streams. I love it. Hey, Muhammad Abu Baker, good to see you. Good morning. Bill Green, always nice. Scott Bush in South Carolina. I do miss my low country. I'm having a good time in New England with my family, but low country living's where it's at for me. Yeah, Joel Belton hitting the like button. I do appreciate that. And if you're on the fence about hitting the like button, stay with us. And if you get value from the stream, that would be the time to definitely hit the like button. Let me get my chat up here perfectly. I did look at the news stories. There was a big coordinated law enforcement effort that happened over the weekend, but unfortunately it's not in the story, so we don't get the KRS-One sound effect today, sadly. Hey, Mac Wells. Hey, Dan Catledge. Good to see you. Dev Meister, always great to see you, especially on the Discord server. Hey, Mashoud in LinkedIn over there. Guys, if you are watching on LinkedIn, totally cool. You'll definitely get value. But I just want to point out that the Simply Cyber YouTube channel has a richer experience. We do polls, there's emotes and stuff like that. You can connect with a larger community for networking purposes, etc. So definitely enjoy it on LinkedIn, but Simply Cyber on YouTube is where it is. George, I am on vacation this week. We're just not leaving until noon today, so I'm I love doing the daily cyber threat briefing. It's my favorite thing. So I wasn't going to pass up an opportunity to do it. All right, guys, I think that's enough pleasantries. I hope you all have a great morning. Let's get into the news brief.
2022. New phishing method bypasses MFA using Microsoft WebView 2 apps. A new phishing technique uses Microsoft Edge WebView 2 applications to steal victims' authentication cookies, allowing threat actors to bypass multi-factor authentication when logging into stolen accounts. Created by researcher Mr. Docs, this new social engineering attack is called WebView 2 Cookie Stealer and consists of a WebView 2 executable that, when launched, opens up a legitimate website's login form inside the application. This takes advantage of Microsoft Edge WebView 2, which allows you to embed a web browser with full support for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript directly in your native apps using Microsoft Edge Chromium as the rendering engine. Unfortunately, WebView 2 also allows a developer to directly access cookies and inject JavaScript into the web page that is loaded by an application, making it an excellent tool to log keystrokes and steal authentication cookies and then send them to a remote server.
Okay, so this is a pretty serious piece of information here. Okay, where's my screen here? Okay, so check this out. Couple things to point out. One, this attack only affects Microsoft Edge. So I don't think Microsoft Edge has a big footprint in the marketplace, but just be mindful if you guys are working in an environment that's very restricted and requires Microsoft Edge. This is a good learning opportunity to educate end users if they are using Microsoft Edge. Now, this is a very tricky one to do simply because um, it's going to look to an end user, to a victim, it's going to look like the right experience. So this one doesn't have any like visual indicators of the problem. Now, a couple of things I want to point out with this particular story. One, Mr. Docs at Mr. DOX. You could check out Mr. Docs. I've seen that security researcher in the past. They've released some pretty good stuff. So definitely, if you're interested in this type of stuff, like novel attack techniques, interesting ways to circumvent modern day security technology, Mr. Docs is actually pretty good at that. Now, if you are going to be using Microsoft Edge, unfortunately, like, I don't know anybody who's a little bit older or been around in the industry for a while, this thing feels like it's ActiveX. Do you remember like Microsoft Internet Explorer had ActiveX and like a whole host of hot mess problems came out of it? Essentially because it allows you to integrate and make more kind of rich immersive experiences, but it gets weaponized instantly. This web view 2 thing basically allows you to embed um, um, a web browser into your apps, right? So you get that nice, rich kind of web 2.0, borderline web 3 type experience. But the problem is, obviously, you're hooking into all of these capabilities that a modern web browser actually has, but it's baked into an app. So end users may not know. So a bit of a risk there. For me personally, I don't like Edge. For me, for me, the only thing Edge is good for is downloading another browser. That's like first day, open Edge, go download a browser. So anyways, but be mindful of Mr. Docs and that this attack technique. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to say that I would think that this Web View 2 thing right here, the ability to embed and then access cookies and tokens and stuff like that, is actually going to be a I don't want to call it a paradigm of attack, but this isn't. I think this is just the beginning of these type of attacks. And by the way, the I guess the most important thing also to take away and maybe bookmark this is that this circumvents, or it's an attack that can circumvent multi-factor authentication. So I'm a huge multi-factor authentication advocate. I think it is a huge control to put in place, very important, but it is not bulletproof. And a lot of people go with these ultimatums like, oh, like we have multi-factor, we're invincible. It's like, no, you've just raised the bar of difficulty for the threat actor. And hopefully they get frustrated and they move on to someone else, or they are unsuccessful. But it is by no means a total solution.
Russian threat actors may be behind the explosion at Texas liquefied natural gas plant. The explosion took place on June 8th at the Freeport Liquefied Natural Gas Liquefaction Plant and Export Terminal on Texas's Quintana Island and will have a lasting impact on its future operations. Preliminary investigations suggest that the incident resulted from the overpressure and rupture of a segment of an LNG transfer line, leading to the rapid flashing of liquid natural gas and the release and ignition of the natural gas vapor cloud. At this time, it is not clear why the safety mechanisms in place did not prevent the explosion. Experts speculate a cyber attack may have turned them off. ICS malware like Triton, which experts associated with Russian-linked APT group Xenotime, has offensive capabilities to shut down industrial safety controls and cause extensive damages to industrial facilities.
Okay, couple things. One, so Triton, nasty piece of ICS malware. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. I do think that Darknet Diaries has a video on Triton. I know for sure they have one about Shamoon with Chris Kubeka, and I might be getting that confused with the Triton one. But Triton is a big deal. Okay, so there was a explosion. ICS OT. We always talk about this. This is the touching and manipulating of cyber physical systems. So things that like open and close valves, things that vent gas into the air, right? Things that are much more OT, operational technology, than IT. So there was this natural gas accident. Sounds like it's very interesting that the safety mechanisms did not work, and they're suspecting potential Russian threat actors were behind the explosion. Now, a couple of things that jump out to me, right? Um, there must be some unreported indicators of compromise or some unreported TTPs, some forensics evidence that is linking to Russia, because nothing in this story to me says that they have a smoking gun. And all they said was like the only thing that ties it to Russia is that they say Triton is similar and is Russian developed, right? Like that doesn't mean that they were attacked by Russia. So, part of me goes right to like, is this media spin? Um, because it doesn't seem grounded in any type of evidence to support that it is hooked to Russia. And then the other part of me is like, if you're going to make a bold claim like this, then there has to be some smoking gun that they're just not putting out in the news, right? Maybe they're still doing the initial investigation, the initial forensics. Maybe they've uncovered a new piece of malware that's particularly nasty, and the department of justice or the NSA or whoever's involved, the FBI, they don't want to tip their hand that they've actually got that piece of malware, or they're following back to the C2 server and seeing if they can hack back, right? There's a couple different things here. But the fact that this says Russia linked, and there, like, as far as I could tell, there was no evidence associating that other than a similar piece of malware Russia did, is a bit of a jump, right? So I don't know it's for the clicks or what, but um, having said all that, this is kind of scary, right? I mean, obviously, you can blow up a natural gas plant. That's people can get killed. You can obviously damage the energy grid. You can put people. Right now it's about to get summer. There's like a heat wave going across Texas. So if you knock out people's air conditioners, that could be pretty devastating. Not everybody has the opportunity to get on a plane and go somewhere else. So, anyways, hopefully it was just a rundown situation, right? A lot of OT is actually run down and running Windows XP embedded, etc. So it could be that.
Google reveals sophisticated Italian spyware campaign.
Actually, yeah. So Jim Wales actually just said, if this is verified, potential act of war. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no question, if the definition of international norms of international conflict and war and stuff like that, if there is a if you can identify that it was Russian state-sponsored attack on U.S. assets like this natural gas plant, that is, as far as I know, that would be unmistakably an act of war. I don't want to say the problem, but like, um, if you study if you study this type of stuff, Russia has been doing this to it did it to Estonia in 2014. It did it to Ukraine in 2017, just like straight knocked it off the map. Um, and it was never considered an act of war because there would be proxy, criminal organizations operating presumably without the Russian state sponsored orders. But then if you look at it, they're operating with immunity, which is like kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod. It sure would be nice if Estonia just got knocked offline. Um, so, anyways, yeah, there's a great book. Um, oh God, I read it a couple years ago. I'll pull it up if I can remember it. Just around international norms of warfare in the cyberspace, and specifically around how Russia has skirted those.
Targeting victims in Italy and Kazakhstan. The little-known Italian spyware firm RCS Labs worked with unnamed internet service providers to install malicious apps on targets' phones in Italy and Kazakhstan, researchers with Google's threat analysis group said on Thursday. The spyware, dubbed Hermit, is modular surveillanceware. In some cases where ISP involvement wasn't possible, Google researchers said the firm sent fake warning messages to targets telling them to link to restore access to a popular messaging app. The memory corruption exploitation at work in this attack is akin to the forced entry zero-click exploit exposed last year and developed by Israel's NSO group. Cyber attacks.
Okay, so this is they say NSO group just to kind of tie it in, but basically there is a security research firm much like NSO group making cyber weapons out of Italy, and basically they're for sale and they're targeting Italians and Kazakhstan citizens. A couple of things that are interesting to me here. One, okay, so they're writing mobile malware. That's fine, and I'm not super surprised or stunned. What does surprise me is that this is a private business, I would assume, Italian spyware company, Italian malware company, right? They write cyber weapons. Here's the weird thing. They worked with internet service providers to install the malicious apps on the target's phone. Think about that for a second. That's collusion. Like, in order for, like, say I have like this piece of malware, okay, and I need to install it on Kimberly's phone. Normally, I would have to trick Kimberly, like, hey, here's a text message, Kimberly, or here's a new app update, or whatever. Socially engineer Kimberly. By working with the ISPs, it got pushed directly to them, and I don't fully understand because all the ISP is doing is providing network connectivity. So I don't know if the Italian spyware company basically used the social authority of the ISP for the victim, i.e., like, hey, this is AT&T, just letting you know that we've updated your service. Here's a new app you got to download or whatever, right? So, like, wearing the ISP for social proof. I don't know, but to me, that's really bizarre that like another entity would get involved. So either they're being told at the government level that you will do this, they're being paid handsomely to basically compromise their own customer base, which is pretty deplorable. Or three, and I didn't go into the story, but three, in this hotly politicized environment we live in right now, it's possible that whoever runs the ISP had an alignment with whoever was wanting to install this malware on these victims because the victims were, dissidents of whatever the ISP was into, right? So, so these are three theories that I have. I just find it bizarre that the ISP got involved with pushing the malware. So, anyways, just be mindful, guys. And also, they said where the ISP wouldn't work, they would send a fake phishing message to the victim and say, "Hey, you've got to install this thing. There's an update." And off it goes. I do want to point out too. I did a little research on this over the weekend. This is obvious, like Android. It's like so easy to push malware onto people's phones, but it can happen on Apple devices too. And if you're like, well, what about the walled garden? So there is capabilities to like put test apps on phones, right? It's called like Test Pilot or something like that. So there are, or if you have a private, if you have a business, right? So some of you may work at large businesses where they develop custom apps for the business, right? And then they push them down onto people's phones, like a time clock app or way to bill your hours app or submitting feedback or HR app or whatever. It doesn't matter, but you can build custom apps and push them to your devices. So that's another technique that threat actors are using is making custom apps and then leveraging that custom app space to do things. So, anyways, iPhones, yeah, thank you. So, just a key takeaway, just like MFA is not bulletproof, another thing that you should keep in mind is that Apple iPhones are not, invulnerable to running malware. A lot of people think that malware doesn't run on iPhones. It's just harder to get the malware on the phone, but it's not impossible to run malware. Just remember, malware is just software. It's the intent of what it's doing that makes it malicious to us. It's not like it's a special, funky, greasy, slimy, tentacle laden piece of software. It's literally just software. It's the same thing as, as a spreadsheet app. It just does something that we don't like. All right.
Suspected of causing rocket attack false alarms in Israel. Sirens used to warn Israelis of rocket attacks sounded a false alarm in Israel last weekend due to a cyber attack on local public address systems. This, according to Israel's Home Front Command on Monday. Investigators currently attribute the attack to Iranian operatives. The Jerusalem Post emphasizes that this attribution is preliminary and that the incident remains under investigation. Israel Hayom notes that some of the evidence of the cyber attack remains circumstantial. The systems apparently compromised were civilian warning systems, not presumably the better protected military ones.
Okay. So, okay. There is an early warning system and it went off. Nobody got hurt, it sounds like, because there was no impound rocket attack. Um, I guess all I'm going to say about this is I'm sure, like, they probably stood this capability up. Um, Actually, this is Israel and Iran. So maybe this has actually been in place for a while. I feel like Israel, Palestine, Iran, like there's a lot of kinetic attacks going on. So maybe they do have that rocket attack thing. But as important as that system is, and I've seen this before, so this is kind of like my take on it. As important as an early warning rocket attack system goes, it's typically built right? It's built. Maybe they test it like the public service broad emergency broadcasting system in the United States. You run it once in a while, but it's not truly a high use production system. So like they don't. I feel like those type of systems don't get a lot of attention, right? It's important. You probably touch them twice a year. You go down your checklist. Yep, it's still doing that. It's still doing that. Maybe we test it. Um, but those systems are often I don't want to say rife with security risk, but like they're just not touched often. So they don't get the attention, they don't get the focus, they don't have all the little tripwires around them and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised. It could have been not a cyber attack, right? It could have just been, a logic, like a misconfiguration logic bomb type thing. And it could have been a cyber attack. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would you like, unless you were going to run the siren over and over again to like erode confidence in it, or if you were testing it so you could then verify that you could shut it off, so like you actually launch a rocket and then you turn off the system so the system can't go off. But from an espionage perspective, I hate to sound like a bad person, but from an espionage perspective, why would I tip my hand by running the attack, like running the alarm and give indication that I can control it? In reality, you'd want to be very discreet, and then you'd want to launch a rocket and then and then try to disable the system from going off in order to have maximum efficacy of your attack. So, um, whatever. I don't think that this is a complicated system to hack into, simply because I think it's probably an older system that doesn't get a lot of attention. And just to point it out too, I don't know if you guys remember, but like a few years ago, there was like like an inbound intercontinental ballistic missile warning that went off in Hawaii. That was a complete false alarm too, right? So these things happen. This isn't It's not. It's like between this and the Texas Petroleum thing. Like, are we just gonna assume everything's a cyber attack now? Like, I get that cyber is more pervasive and everything, but like, there's no like just because it's a technology system doesn't mean it was cyber attacked every time it does something that wasn't expected. Um, anyways, okay.
Thanks
So
to
let
today's
all right. So let's listen to today's sponsor, Compliments of CISO series.
episode sponsor, Optiv. The modern enterprise needs a solution as unique as its business. Optiv's advanced detection and response works with your organization to comb through the DNR clutter and find the ideal security solutions for your business. ADR delivers tailored detection and response backed by technology, real-time intel, and deep expertise applied at touch. Bottom line, ADR finds and neutralizes threats fast so you can focus on what matters. If you would like to learn more about Optiv ADR, please visit optiv.com/ADR. That's optiv.com/ADR.
All right. So really quick, I want to say thank you to everybody too. I love how DevMeister's going down like a DevMeister's going down like a dark hole of like laying out the entire architect of what this is going to look like. Nice job, DevMeister. Okay, so guys, I do want to spend just a minute here mid-show to say thank you. Nothing really to share or promote. I do have a really exciting raffle coming next week. Whole human cyber initiative, barricade cyber solutions. We did raffles the last 2 weeks. I got super excited and really enjoyed the experience. So I actually reached out to another vendor and asked them if they wanted to sponsor. They said yes. So stay tuned for Monday next week when we're going to be raffling off two prizes every day for, well, not Monday. Monday's July 4th, but Tuesday through Friday, we'll be raffling off a prize, two prizes, two winners every single day. So stay tuned for that. Now, real quick before we jump into the next one, because this is my one morning and then until Friday, I did want to take a minute and I wanted to thank you all. Okay, so thank you so much for being part of the Simply Cyber community. Thank you for supporting me and Simply Cyber and all the work that we do. This is episode 140 of the Simply Cyber Daily Threat Briefing. We do the Thursday lives. I make produce content. We do a lot of stuff. And I just want to give a shout out to the members of the squad. Where are we? Members of the squad. Is this it right here? Yeah. Members of the squad. Look at this. There's 94 squad members. And going all the way back to the OGs of like Base, Jax, Casey, Stacy Feldman, you can see like the color coding here. 7 months. They're going to be getting that rich, true Simply Cyber blue here in a few months. But Joshua Smith, Palan, Anna Lynn, like so many of you have been here, Jess Bishop, George, Chinyuri, Elizabeth Sneed, like so many of you have been here for so long. And I just want to recognize you and let you all know that like I genuinely see you and I'm doing everything I can to continue to make this a great experience and improve upon it and really deliver value. So it's worth your time to spend your morning with all of us. So thank you. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Log4Shell exploits still being used to hack VMware servers, according to CISA. CISA warned on Thursday that threat actors, including state-backed hacking groups, are still targeting VMware Horizon and Unified Access Gateway servers using the Log4Shell remote code execution vulnerability. After its disclosure in December 2021, multiple threat actors started scanning for and unpatched systems, including state-backed hacking groups from China, Iran, North Korea, and Turkey, as well as several access brokers commonly used by ransomware gangs. This joint advisory was made in accordance with the U.S. Coast Guard Cyber Command. Carnival fined.
All right. So this is, I guess, I mean, to me, I almost feel like this is just an update on Log4Shell. This came out in December of 2021, so it's been out for about 6-7 months. Just like Eternal Blue with SMB shares, just like with Apache Struts for Equifax, like Log4Shell, the patch is out there. People know how to fix it. but it's still being actively exploited. Threat actors can use Shodan and a whole host of others kind of scanning tools to find these VMware servers that are exposed to the internet. And by the way, not just VMware, but other technologies that are exposed to the internet. Discovering whether or not Log4Shell is actually open, well, is present and an exploitable version is trivial, right? Huntress, John Hammond's the company John Hammond works for. You can go to Huntress, and they actually have like a web app front end that will just generate a Log4Shell, um, basically exploit validation statement, and then you can drop that in text field, search queries, wherever on any website, and submit it, and then it'll come back, and Huntress will report whether or not Log4Shell was exploitable. So, long story short, there's a whole host of tools to do it, and if you haven't patched, there's one or two reasons, and this is maybe for the people who are trying to break in the industry to blow minds at an interview. Okay, there's two reasons, because you might say, right, naively, you might be like, oh, these people are lazy. Why don't they patch this Log4Shell? Everybody knows about it. It's like you're guaranteed to have your butt out in the wind if you don't patch this thing. Well, here's the deal. Yes, potentially, um, potentially people are not patching this. They know about it, but they're not patching it for whatever reason. In my experience, most of the time, this is not the case though. Like if someone knows about it, they're wanting to do the right thing. What is potentially happening is um like IT dependency, right? So in order to patch the VMware servers, you have to up like this is just a potential scenario, but it emphasizes the point on why you can't just patch everything and go for it. These VMware servers, maybe you're running an older version and you've made a custom VM that runs some type of in-house app or something like that on some, splintered OS, right? Like you're running like a CentOS box to do some type of financial management planning thing, whatever. When you update VMware, you're going to break the reverse, not the reverse, the backward compatibility with that particular operating system, right? So now management's like, what are you doing? You can't upgrade this thing. Like this financial thing that we built over here that Carl built in 1997 is vital to our business. You can't break it. So now IT is left like with their, left to figure out what the heck to do. So they just kind of kick it down the road. Oh, we're gonna get budget in July, like in the new fiscal year, we'll get budget to do this, but it never comes, right? It's always like down the road. Or upgrading the VMware would require you to touch every VM. So it's a massive project. And guys, human nature, unless it's a priority for the business, massive projects kind of get pushed to the side because there's like ongoing daily operations and maintenance. You got to touch certain things, and major projects are a major burden, right? So you need resources and support from the tone at the top because it's going to be taking all your time. So that's why things like this don't always get patched. Trust me, it's not because some IT admin does not realize that they have VMware servers that are exploitable to the internet. The only other thing I would mention is there's a potential scenario where the business does not realize they have this, right? So sometimes a small business may outsource their IT to a managed service provider. The managed service provider, and this was actually the basis of my dissertation research for my PhD, the MSP will say, "Oh, our responsibility is uptime and availability," right? Not to say that they don't patch their systems, but security is not explicit. Oftentimes, security is not an explicit requirement or service that they are delivering. They are delivering IT. Okay, so it's possible that the business thinks that they're patched and they're not, and the MSP is unaware because they have multiple clients and they don't realize that this is in scope and they're not looking for it, right? So it becomes a delusion, a delusion of responsibility where I think Kimberly's doing it, Kimberly thinks Tom Shaw's doing it, and Tom Shaw thinks I'm doing it, and none of us are doing it. So that's what's going on there.
$5 million by New York for cybersecurity violations. This follows 4 security breaches between 2019 and 2021 that exposed substantial amounts of sensitive customer data, according to New York's Department of Financial Services. They have said that the cruise line violated a state cybersecurity regulation by failing to use multi-factor authentication. They also said that Carnival failed to report one breach and failed to conduct adequate cybersecurity awareness training for employees. The regulator also said that the failures caused Carnival to file improper cybersecurity compliance certifications from 2018 through 2020. Two of these breaches involved ransomware attacks, they said.
All right, hold on one
Electricity.
second. Hold on one second. I'm like looking. I'm just curious here. Okay, this guy right here. This guy's the CIS. Get out. Oh God, I hate. He is the Gary Eppinger is the CISO of Carnival, and has been at Carnival in November 2013. He's in Miami, Kimberly, so you can say what's up to him. But um, oh my God, get out of here with all these pop-ups, dude. I'm just thinking like this guy, this guy. I don't know. Here's what I think. Okay, so check this out. Carnival Cruise getting slapped around. It says New York, right? But it sounds like there was actually a class action lawsuit with 45 US states, right? So 45 states. Hey, Isaiah Chua. So 45 US states basically sue Carnival. Here's the deal, right? Here's the deal. They had 4 breaches. One they didn't even report, affected, you know, a lots in clients or victims, right? Wherever you want to say their customer base. I don't know what the numbers were, but dude, 4 breaches, one after another from 2018 to 2022. You're getting slapped around, brother, and you need to like you we like come on, let's bring it in tight. Let's like cybersecurity family, right? Let's please like it just like I can't believe that they're just getting slapped around. And then this $5 million fine, I don't know um what the annual revenue is for a Carnival Cruise Line. So maybe $5 million isn't really that bad. You guys got to think about that too. Like what's the percentage of it? Because if it's not super painful, it's not going to have a significant amount of effect. But dude, if I was this guy right here, right? This is the CEO, Arnold Donald. If I was Arnold Donald, I'd be asking Gary, like, Gary, what are we doing here? Like, you know, and that's not to say you're not going to be breached, but 4 security breaches from 2019 to 2021. So in 2 years, 4 significant material breaches. Significant is obviously a subjective term, but I have to imagine that. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm like highlighting stuff and you guys can't see it. I have to imagine that they got hit. Okay, here's the final thing I'll say about this. Typically, fines like this come because of negligence, right? If you have a breach and then you want to, most businesses will invest heavily into cybersecurity following a breach. Um, when you don't, these things happen where you have breach, right? That's not good for business. And typically, when investigators come in to understand what the heck is going on, if you are not making improvements, like if it's just business as usual, they usually give you fines, right? You see this a lot in with HIPAA fines, right? Typically, if you ever see HHS OCR issuing a HIPAA financial fine, it means that the company was being pretty much negligent. Like they got caught and then they didn't do anything to fix it. Oh, DevMeister showing that their revenue was $20 billion in 2019. So I'm not really great with the math, but $5 million sounds like a tip jar. You know what I mean? So maybe Gary's okay. Maybe Gary's okay, and he's not going to get in trouble. But it doesn't sound good. If I was Carnival Cruise Lines, oh, here we go. Sean Kenny nominated to CIO. That really should. That's interesting that Gary's boss is the CEO and not the CISO. Anyways, here's his LinkedIn. Let's check out Gary really quick. Down in down in Florida. All right. Oh wait, hold on. Okay, so actually this makes a lot more sense, guys. Hold on. Can you guys see me? This makes a ton of sense. Check this out. You guys are going to love this. Here, let me close my messages and all that stuff. Look at this. You ready? You Hold on. I'm operating with like a small desk here. Check this out. This is Gary. Gary, this is Simply Cyber Community. Gary was the CISO, was at Carnival. Remember it said 2019 to 2021? What happened to Gary? Gary was the CISO until May 2021. So what I have to assume is the fourth breach was a resume generating event for Gary. This makes a lot more sense to me. Like I just told you, how could Arnold Donald not hold Gary accountable? $5 million doesn't really affect the revenue, but geez, like it's not good to like the only time that you see Gary at the water cooler is when Gary's telling you that you're having a breach. So not surprised about this. Anyways, that's okay. I will tell you this other thing, and this is kind of perverse, but it's a reality. In our industry of information security, even when you're a CISO and you suffer a breach, it's actually not a bad thing, right? Hear me out, okay? If I'm a CISO and we go through a major breach or four, like Gary, you can say at your job interview, hey, like I've been through dark days, I've been through breaches, I've worked and had to deal with incident response and high anxiety situations. I've lived through that. So if you hire me as your CISO, not only can I build you a program, but I can also deal with it when the crap hits the fan, right? It literally is a selling point. I, so way to go. Woo, cybersecurity. We win. We win. So even when we lose, we win. So that's another great reason to work in this industry. You should not be seeking, you should not be seeking compromises and opening your hospital gown up to be attacked, just so you can get that experience. Trust me. Okay.
Used to mine Bitcoin plummets as crypto crisis widens. The amount of electricity consumed by the largest cryptocurrency networks has decreased by up to 50% as the crypto winter continues to eat at the incomes of miners and financial contagion spreads further throughout the sector. The electricity consumption of the Bitcoin network has fallen by a third from its high on June 11th down to an annualized 131 terawatt hours a year, according to estimates from the crypto analyst Digiconomist. As a point of reference, a single conventional Bitcoin transaction uses the same amount of electricity that a typical US household would use over 50 days.
Okay. So this is a good thing. Again, you guys know that oh my God, I'm so sorry about the screen here. Listen, I've been railing against crypto for a while, because that's how I feel about it. People have been freaking out and losing their mind about this like sub element. Oh, you know what I just realized? Guys, Monday morning, right? Am I right? I forgot that I have this layout for y'all. Listen, people have been freaking out about the amount of electricity and how it's taxing the grid and how it's, environmentally damaging. Some people actually open like mining farms up in Greenland where it's freezing cold in order to control the heat and everything like that. I haven't heard the term crypto winter, but I'm going to admit I love it. I love it. So there's a crypto winter right now. Basically, all of the value of cryptocurrencies are imploding. They're sinking, and it's like this weird cycle, snake eating its tail. Of as the value goes down, people start selling because they're selling. The value goes down. People lose their mind. They sell. It goes down. So like there's like this massive crash in the crypto market right now. But because it becomes less and less financially reasonable to spend the money on electricity in order to mine coins, um, people are doing it less and less, right? So this is actually really good for our society as far as like protecting the environment and stuff like that. So happy to see that, but it's just going to take like one spike of Bitcoin back up for people to like flip out. They've got all the hardware and stuff like that. They're just turning it off until things um, improve, right? So that's where that is. Real quick, Ed says recent LinkedIn claims CISO shelf life is 18 months. That is true. 18 to 24 months is a standard career for per job for CISOs, and I could explain exactly why it's 18 months. If you guys are interested, I could just do a live stream one day and explain that. There's a really well thought out explanation because I've seen it multiple times. I've done it myself. Like there's a clear reason why. Um, and like the TLDR is that there's way more need for CISOs than there is CISOs, so it becomes very um, poachy. But it gets more complicated about how long it takes to build a program, how you can demonstrate value within the first 12 months, and then in order to find your next job, typically CISO work, it's like 6 months. Um, it's typically 6 months to go from like, hi, I want to work here, to like, here's your hire on package. I'll get into it if you guys want. Maybe actually, you know what? Maybe I'll do it this Thursday because I don't have a live stream for Simply Cyber Live this Thursday because I thought I was going to be out with this family vacation, but I'm going to be back Thursday. So maybe I'll just do like an AMA, like CISO, hashtag CISO life on Thursdays. Stay tuned.
And now, the past week in ransomware. The Conti ransomware gang has finally turned off their Tor, data leak, and negotiation sites, effectively shutting down the operation. Since May, a lone Conti member has been posting data from older victims to make the gang appear alive, but in reality, Conti shut down last month. The members are now spread out into smaller cells amongst different operations, making it more challenging to target the crime syndicate. Last week also saw a surge in Echo Ray ransomware attacks on QNAP devices, a report on Mitel Zero Day used in a ransomware attack, Chinese hackers deploying ransomware as decoys, and a report on a Conti hacking spree that took place at the end of last year. There were also quite a few attacks this week, or updated information on them, including those on Yodel, Nichirin, Fast Shop, and Artier. And
Okay, so I feel like such a goober for not fixing my layout for you guys until like most of the way through the show. But I'm sorry. All right, so basically, ransomware roundup. A couple different news stories here were said really quickly, but the one thing that really kind of confuses me is that Conti is effectively like shuttered right now. They said that the leak sites have been pulled down. They said that one lone person has been messaging for Conti to give the illusion that they're active, but they've been down for like a month. I feel really like odd, unless it has to do with the conflict, the Russian-Ukrainian war conflict, and maybe they're focusing their resources there. But based on the Conti leaks, right? And again, go to krebsonsecurity.com and read the diary that Brian put together of the Conti leaks. But they were like 100-person well-oiled machine, right? Like a business with 100 people. They had HR department. They had very clearly defined roles or departments, right? Malware author, QA tester, initial access brokers. Like they had what they needed to be highly successful. They made $180 million last year. So I don't know why Conti is down. I've asked Eric Taylor here um, in chat if he had any thoughts about that. But anyways, so that's a good news for. Here's the deal. That's a good news for us guys because Conti was super effective and they were big game hunters. So if they got you, it wasn't good. In fact, I guess their most recent well, I hate to say success story. I hate to give any positive light, but like they attacked the Costa Rica country, and that was they didn't get paid on that one, as far as I know. Costa Rica told them to pound sand, but I mean that was a major attack, and that was just the other day. So, anyways, and then the other story here again, I need a QNAP sounder, but they said that ransomware attacks on QNAP devices. Guys, it's a day it ends in Y, so QNAP devices are getting attacked. Womp womp. Whatever. So QNAP's gonna get QNAP'd. Um, so that's the deal. It just you can just go to these ransomware stories and bookmark them. There isn't much to tell your end users, and it's just be mindful, right? At this point, protecting yourself from ransomware is it's a best practice. You need to follow all the things, the protection mechanisms, the you don't really need detection mechanisms because it's ransomware. The threat actor is going to tell you that you've been compromised. So you need protection, a little bit of detection, and then more importantly, response and recovery. You need to be able to verify and validate that your backups can work, that you need to be able to recover quickly. You know what order to bring systems back up on. Um, so, yeah, there's a couple other things about that, but I won't get into that. Make sure, by the way, if you're using an EDR solution, like whatever you're doing that claims that it can protect from ransomware, like you have to do it in a very controlled fashion. You may even want to ask your actual security vendor or your insurance company to help you with this, but like actually, in a very controlled way. In fact, I'm reluctant to even recommend this. So only do this if you really know what you're doing, but in a very controlled way. Maybe detonate ransomware on an endpoint and see how your EDR solution responds, right? Because if they delete shadow backups, right, that's not good. If the EDR solution makes it look like they're deleted, but they're actually not, and then you're able to recover because they're using application whitelisting or ACLs around what users can delete shadow copy, right? Like those type of things, right? So, anyways, yeah, QNAP's logo, like for the business, should be the vulnerability. God, those people are regular. So I'm not going to play the audio, obviously, because that's going to totally dork up all of my. I'm not going to play the music because it'll dork up my audio, and we don't want that. Okay, guys. So that's going to do it for this day's episode of the Daily Cyber Threat Briefing. I want to remind everybody from a production perspective, I will be out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You do have great hosts. So definitely tune in tomorrow at 8 a.m. for episode 141 to find out who your host is and just to have a great time. Thank you. I'm very much looking forward to this. I'll be spending some time with my family and some close family friends, another couple that has young kids that are our kids' ages. So um, it'll be a good time. Guys, hit the like button if you got value out of this. Obviously, I will be back Friday. Well, I might be back Thursday for a live stream around why CISO is 18-month shelf life. So stay tuned for that. But at worst, I'll be back Friday morning at 8 a.m. to round out the week. But other than that, I'll be on hashtag Team Replay Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So look for me in the comments with hashtag Team Replay. That's going to do it, guys. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Stay tuned. If you don't know about it, simplycyber.io, great website full of free resources and pretty much all of the stuff kind of curated around the Simply Cyber community. So definitely some value there. Take a good look at it because I'm having the website rebuilt. So this is going to be going away. It's probably its last week of life. But all of the great resources will be available to you in the new version of the website. It'll just be a little bit prettier and a little bit easier to navigate. That's going to do it. Thank you, everybody. Have a great, wonderful day and enjoy your guest hosts as I will be tomorrow at 8 a.m. Cheers.